Hot Mics now with an update on Amy Griffin. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, Amy Griffin. A couple weeks ago, Amy Griffin's anti-SLAPP motion was shut down by the judge in California. So 4 counts against her are going to proceed, and those are negligent infliction of emotional distress, intentional infliction, invasion of privacy, and false light. Those are the major ones. Amy Griffin, of course, was sued by a woman going by Jane Doe, who says basically you usurped, appropriated my story of childhood SA, trauma, assault at the hands of a teacher and made it your own and wrote a book about it. The judge is currently deliberating on whether or not to compel the release of the identity of a woman in the book named Claudia. And if you've been following along, you know that Claudia is this woman that Amy writes about, a childhood classmate with whom she felt a very spiritual, deep connection. And when she saw her alleged assailant of a teacher who had been harming her sexually over and over again with his hand on Claudia's shoulder in the hallway, she thought, oh my God, I'm not the only one. And this is the woman. She lent Claudia a dress for the dance that happened in 8th grade called the Sadie Hawkins dance. So this person is really, according to Jane Doe, she feels like a scapegoat because the way Amy describes Claudia in the book, it is 100% her. Jane Doe, you've described me to a T. So what's happening right now in the legal situation is there have been a lot of filings and motions back and forth between the two law firms, between the two lawyers, Zach Rosenblatt and Alex Weingarten from the other side. And the judge is tired of it. And he basically said, look, this week I want the two of you to get together. It's called a meet and confer and establish some kind of acceptable, agreed upon set of ground rules for discovery going forward, okay? Instead of filing 80-page responses to each other, figure out how you're gonna do this, because a lot of people in Amarillo, Texas, especially people who were either teaching or students at the Austin Middle School circa 1988, 1989, when Amy alleges this began happening to her at the Sadie Hawkins dance, the school dance, a lot of people are going to come forward from that town, some voluntarily and some via subpoena. Now, remember the most important thing, there are 2 teachers that are being impugned here by 2 different people, and the likelihood that both committed these SAs, graping of children at one 8th grade dance, 2 people, 2 different girls, not high. In fact, not even possible. So, Amy in her book, the book proposal that was circulated to publishers, identified her alleged assailant. She used his name. And of course, that gets out. Publishers talk amongst each other. It gets out to the media, to the press. It got out to the New York Times. It got out to me. Everyone knows this man's name. And she identified him by name. And it is a very problematic profiling for her because he taught for 35 years without incident, other than just the wealthiest, most popular girl in the class, in the school. I understand that Jane Doe very much knows the name of her alleged assailant. She has not named him. She's been quiet. She's going by Jane Doe, but she knows her assailant and his whereabouts. That person, they know where he is. And he's a guy that left school shortly after what he allegedly did to Jane Doe, which is normally what somebody would do if they, don't have, they want to get away from their evil. He did leave. And Jane Doe was the quiet, lonely kid from a foster home, right? A Presbyterian church foster home. So she knows the whereabouts. And I'm under the impression that that man is somewhere pooping his pants. Probably listening to this right now. And if so, if that's the case, see you soon. This case has precedent, and I'm talking about the federal suit that Amy filed against Jolene Altum in Nevada. And that is, she calls her by name. It's Jane Doe in California, but Amy decided to out her, which will not endear her to women, but now People magazine reports it, so I'm okay going with it. And I think Jolene has come to terms with it. There's a lot of case law surrounding sexual trauma and repressed memories. I don't think any that were unearthed by MDMA, but though remember, Amy's lawyers amended in their documents that part to say that the memories that Amy recovered actually started recovering before the medicine took effect. That's a really interesting little change, but pivotal, right? Really seems to me important, substantial. But here's what's never happened. Basically, what Amy is declaring in this Nevada federal suit, that based on repressed memories, I was defamed. Based on repressed memories, it's very hard to imagine being defamed by something that's originates in a repressed memory. But that's what she is claiming here in Nevada. Perhaps some people think one of the side goals there, or side benefits, would be bankrupting Jolene, because she's on defense. She's going to have to pay for her defense. There is some thought to the idea that Amy should settle. I think in Amy's camp. I'll tell you this, she absolutely must settle. How she could not settle, I don't know. Her town of Amarillo, where she grew up and hasn't lived in years and years, decades, but it's already upside down. One neighbor, a man I spoke to, his best friend was a neighbor of Amy's parents for 50 years. Told me the town is upside down. 80% don't believe her. It's 80-20. She's not popular. Does Amy Griffin really want to invert and devastate a town that she spends absolutely no time in anymore? Right? Here's this Hamptons, Manhattan billionairess going back to devastate her old town. That's a big undertaking. Her younger brother runs the family business there, which is a huge business. Toot and Totem convenience stores started by Amy's father, now run by her younger brother. This absolutely sucks for him and her father's legacy. These are the people whose Toot and Totem, is on the back of all the little league jerseys in town. You know what I mean? They are community staples. So if she settles, how would you, if you were her publicist or crisis manager, draft a press release giving Amy as much coverage as possible, air coverage? First of all, I think Amy would pay Jolene for the right to control the messaging here, right? They would have to release a statement together. PR 101 calls for the mutual resolution framing. We both agree. No admission language here, but we both agree, we've come together on this, that it happened simultaneously. No one did it under pressure. So the mutual resolution would be the framing, which would effortlessly dovetail into a forward-looking mission statement. We are refocusing our efforts into some type of, charity or advocacy work rather than give any litigation specifics. Now, if I'm framing this for Amy, it's too late for her to call her Jane Doe, because she's already given her name. So I would say Jolene and Amy met for the first time? Question mark? Jolene and Amy met and have come to understand each other's sides. What they initially thought were differences are in truth a common bond. Okay, get out of there quickly. No more specifics. No reference to actual incidents, because again, two young girls cannot have been raped by two different teachers at the same Sadie Hawkins dance. One of them is not telling the truth. Then move on to, we are both committed to working to help child victims of adult sexual abuse. And then announce something like the Amarillo House, or the Amy and Jolene Foundation to help kids, something. And there would be a confidentiality clause in there, because I'm thinking the financial number would have to be very large. And what woman, who's in the right, cuts a massive check to someone else? Whenever you see a massive check, do not let people know how much you paid. Because when you see a huge number, it immediately, to me, it's implied guilt, right? I mean, sadly, when Michael Jackson wrote a $20 million check to the family of a boy to make it go away, because I don't want to have to, I don't know. You fight for your life when someone impugns you in the most egregious way. Terms confidential, but we're putting this chapter behind us, that kind of language, focusing on healing, notably not thanking the other party or acknowledging their claims. Just silence on the substance would be the way to go. So will that come up? By the way, the biggest NDA in all of this would absolutely be Jolene, because we do believe there are others that have been given. So I think she should settle. If she's having conversations about it, it would be the right move. I think her family would appreciate it. But right now, in the Amy Griffin trial, the two legal teams are meeting to decide, under the judge's order, to figure out how they're going to go forward in discovery and work together, so they have some type of parameters. There are a lot of people in Amarillo, Texas, who are going to have to come forward. Subpoenas are going to be issued. And this is why, with Amy having one, like no declarations other than one from a Dominic Price, and whether or not he's telling the truth under penalty of perjury, I don't know. But she's got one. This Jolene has 7 to 8 declarations of people corroborating elements of her story. So that is the update for now on Amy Griffin. Thanks for listening to Hot Mics. Please hit subscribe and join the family.